All right, so welcome back into the show today. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be breaking down the FOMC pump. I think you're going to want to stick around. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back in. Today I want to, of course, bring in my co-host, and that's going to be Mr. Tim Warren, coming in from the Tim Warren channel. I'm holding this now. New branding. I mean, you're looking good over here, Tim. What is going on? Tell me about this. What's the move?
Yeah, ultimately, it was just a brand change for professionalism. I think the number one question people are going to ask is, because people know there's other people as well, T. Shrum, Smay, Crux.
Yeah.
People are going to say, did the team split up? No. The business is the same. Ownership is the same. The team is the same. But that Broz name, it made us sound like degenerate frat boy gamblers. That's not who we are. Like, we are responsible. We're picking top coins. And so personal brands do well. I mean, heck, Paul Barron Network, personal brand right there. So we're taking this little play out of your playbook, going a little more professional.
I
Hopefully,
like it.
That brings some growth.
You're just going to win now. That just means winning for Tim Warren. All right, Tim, we got to get into a few points. I want to jump on this first tweet right here. Summary of Chair Powell's comments. Current policy stance, well-positioned, means F you guys, we're not changing rates. Moderation of growth reflects slowdown in consumer spending, maybe. A little bit of housing sector remains weak. That I agree with, because there's nobody taking out loans with interest rates where they are right now. Tariffs pushing up prices in some goods right now. We haven't seen this system-wide. So they're pretty much in a position right now where it appears that we may not get a rate cut. What's your theory? Do you feel like we get a rate cut this year at all, or are you looking at September?
You know, up until yesterday, I would say we were probably getting at least two. Yesterday, even though I wasn't expecting a rate cut in that FOMC meeting, I actually was low-key expecting him to be a little bit more dovish. He kind of sidestepped some of the questions about, for the first time in quite some time, there were two dissenters, right? So we had two Fed members who voted for a rate cut, and he was just kind of like, oh, they got to give their opinion. It was a great opinion, great meeting. We're not cutting rates. In that response, the CME Futures site that I love following for predictions, which had been predicting a September cut for months now, all of a sudden now we're seeing 60% likelihood we stay paused in September.
Yeah.
He also mentioned in the meeting we have two more rounds of unemployment and inflation numbers. One of the numbers he loves looking at, he's talked about it, is the PCE. That came out this morning. We'll have another one before the meeting, but it came in hot. It was supposed to be 2.5%. It came out 2.6%. So I'm not giving up hope on multiple cuts. But at this point, if you told me, Tim, make a bet about how many cuts are coming, unless Jerome Powell is stepping down early or for some reason gets relieved of his duties, we might only see one before the end of the year. And even that might be bullish, because we might get zero.
Yeah. President Trump is not letting up. I mean, he is basically just saying it is, this guy has got to go. And maybe, in fact, we'll see some movement there. Another point to yours, and that is PCE inflation up 2.6 from 2.5. PCE inflation core rising to 2.8 from 2.7. So this is kind of playing into Powell's playbook, that he thinks this is a situation that's going to have to be addressed. I want to play a clip here, because this is actually Jim Bianco stating that this is not going to get a free money pass maybe this year. Take a look.
This is not the 2019 economy. I know Chairman Powell likes to say that we see broad signs that the economy is normalizing or returning to pre-pandemic levels. That's another cycle. We're in a different cycle right now. And this is a cycle of elevated inflation. I think that the inflation rate's going to run around 3%, maybe as high as 4%. But I like to caution that I did not say 8-10 or Zimbabwe inflation. And with that type of level of inflation, and that's largely what we've seen, we've averaged over 4% in the last 5 years on the inflation rate, that the appropriate level for the funds rate is about where it is now. And the Fed should not be talking about cutting rates when you've got all-time highs in the stock market, in housing, in crypto, all the way down the line. I don't know what problem they're trying to solve that they think that they need to give us easier money.
All right, so my only argument with that would be the problem they're trying to solve is not to spiral into joblessness. If we do see inflation rising, it's going to put some pressure on consumers. That means it's a pressure cooker on businesses, which usually ends up on the job side. So the question is do you get ahead of this, or do you end up in this stagflation where you've got falling jobs and rising inflation all at the same time? That may play well into crypto, though. When we take a look at ETH right now, currently corporate crypto treasury holdings are up at 100 billion. This is a lot of acceleration on acquiring ETH in general. Tim, when you look at ETH right now, it kind of bounced back a little bit. We just saw the little bit of a dip yesterday. We're back above 3,800. Where do you see Ethereum right now heading into, say, August?
Well, ultimately, what you have going on with ETH is more of a holding pattern. So ETH is holding up better than the rest of the crypto space. I'll just kind of flash through some other charts. This is the ETH over USD chart. You can see a lot of just solid sideways consolidation. Take a look at XRP. I'm sure we're going to come back and look at this one. You can see from the recent highs, we've come down. Look at Solana, we've come down. Look at Chainlink, we've come down. Look at Ondo, we've come down. Bitcoin, consolidating, but when you compare, Bitcoin's consolidating downwards, ETH is consolidating upwards. So ETH right now, the most bullish altcoin out there. I mean, you probably can find a small cap and say, oh, it's doing better than ETH. But when you're looking at the big boys, when you're looking at the blue chips, even including Bitcoin, ETH is holding up the best. You look at things like Bitcoin dominance, that's been falling. It's consolidating right now. There's a chance we drop even lower, which could bring altcoin season. But take a look when I type in ETH.D. While Bitcoin dominance is falling and altcoins are stalling out, ETH dominance is still trending upwards even throughout all of this chaos. So you're looking at a place right now. Months ago, we would have said the best place in crypto to just leave your money and sit. If you don't like the US dollar, if you didn't want to hold a stable coin, the best place was Bitcoin. Right now, the best place to leave your money, if you're just not certain what to do with it, it's Ethereum. There is some signs, I will say, in a bull market, these things can be ignored. So don't take what I'm about to say and say, oh, Tim's predicting perfectly. We have to drop this far. But we did hit a level, and I think we talked about this last week. We hit the level already of what we projected a big breakout would be. This would be a level of resistance. When you look at the daily chart, we got a pretty gnarly looking bubble formed on this daily. You can already see the bearish divergence has come in. Red reversal, gray dots are coming in. This money flow with the bright red, it concerns me a little. I guess the best way to put it, I'm not selling my Ethereum, but I'm also not adding to my Ethereum bags right this second with this bubble like this. There is an absolute chance if that bubble pops, and you can see the MACD has crossed bearish again for the first time since way back here. We have to go back. Ultimately, you could go back to here in June, but realistically, we're talking about way back here over in May. That had a little correction to it. If this corrects, place that I would be watching would be the daily smart chart right now, and that's coming in closer to $3,400. Like I said, though, this is a bull market. In bull markets, it is not unheard of for bear signals like this to be ignored and people just buy the dip. It will still come down to the simplicity of do more people buy than people selling. But at the moment, if nothing changes, people do need to be aware if ETH starts to drop, I would have some buy orders in there around 3,400, maybe a little above that spot, because that would be the retest where I think whales would be more comfortable accumulating more.
We're building some interesting portfolios here on the show. We've got Evan's going to be building an altcoin portfolio. I'm looking at your group of 5. This, of course, is in reference to the altcoins listed in the Crypto Digital Assets Report coming out. First of all, list the 5 that you are now holding for this very purpose.
Well, to be fair, these aren't the only 5 I'm holding. I just released a video the other day with my top 10 altcoins, just personally, even before the digital asset report came out yesterday. The 5 you're referencing in that tweet, I actually, if people are watching this video, if you go over to my channel, I just made a whole video about these 5. 3 of them I held pretty heavily. 1 of them I held a little bit, and then I need to add to that bag more. And then 1 of them I had to buy for the first time today. And specifically, you're going to see a lot of things on the internet today about what is in the digital asset report and what isn't. What I'm kind of specifying right here is what coins are actually mentioned in the report, not put somewhere into footnotes for side reading. What is actually mentioned by the digital asset report? And there's only 5 altcoins. Number 1, Ethereum. I think I saw somewhere it's mentioned like 38 times or somewhere around that number. Very important. Chainlink. People are raving all over the internet now about Chainlink spot on there. Ondo, of course, is on there. Uniswap is on there, right? So that's the one I own a little bit of. I need to add to my bags after seeing that on the report. But the 5th and final one that I don't own a single coin of, but now I actually just had to buy some after making my video, is Plume.
Yeah.
I'd heard of Plume. In fact, one of our sister channels, we started a side channel called Alpha Bros, now called Crux of Crypto. 3 months ago, he made a video on the top 5 real world asset plays, and Plume was his sneaker small cap pick. I saw it. I was like, cool, but I'm not a small cap guy. But now that I'm seeing this talked about in a government document, and the fact that of all the altcoins they could have mentioned, they only mentioned 5, and somehow Plume made that top 5.
Made the cut, yeah.
Oh, we're talking about a market cap of less than $200 million. Yep. Let's pretend it only makes it to 10 billion, which is not that hard to do. That's a 50x
Huge.
from current level.
Yeah.
So Plume to me is one of my new hot picks, small cap plays, if you would. There's my DGen pick of the day. You're not gonna get a lot of DGen picks from Tim, but after that report, Plume is my DGen pick.
Well, you look at Chainlink, obviously Sergey, we've had him on the channel before, and he's kind of hitting on a lot of points here around what's happening. Obviously, stablecoin issuers now adopting Chainlink. Mm-hmm. So let's go head to head first with Solana, okay? In charting Chainlink versus Solana, what would you do today if you could only choose one token?
Yeah, well, I know we talked about doing charts for it, and we can absolutely pull up charts. We can look at some details, but when you get into long-term, end of bull market price predictions, charts are not going to tell you the full story. You're going to have to do a light bit of speculation. Here's going to be the ultimate play when it comes to Solana Chainlink. I'm going to go with Chainlink. You tell me, Tim, you get $1,000. You can only put into one of these. Which are you putting into, Chainlink or Solana? I'm going to choose Chainlink. That does not mean Solana is not quality. That does not mean that I think Chainlink is a better project than Solana. One of the biggest things to think about when you're looking at long-term price prediction value, or more so long-term, how much money can I make when I invest in it, right? Nothing, in my opinion, is going to pass Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean that Bitcoin will make me the most amount of money either. Why? Because the market cap is already at $2.3 trillion. Yeah. Let's just say that Bitcoin were to make it to $5 trillion in this world. I actually think you could make it closer to 6. But we're talking about less than a 3x really left if we make it to $5 trillion, $6 trillion. When it comes to other altcoins, we can't get anywhere close to even 2 trillion, and yet you're already talking about 5, 6, 7x for coins like Ethereum. So in this case, market cap is a big deal. Where is Solana currently? Solana is at coin number 6 with a market cap of $95.6 billion. Let's compare that to Chainlink. Coming in down here, you can see it's below Stellar at 12.7. It's above Bitcoin Cash 11.4. What does that mean? It means if Solana stayed still, Chainlink itself, just to match Solana at 95 billion, would just that's an 8x or more, it's almost a 9x actually when you look at it. That means there's just such greater potential for Chainlink to make bigger gains in your investment than Solana. I don't predict Chainlink passes Solana in total market cap. I see both these coins having very good market caps. I think Solana is a coin that could easily be over 500 billion before it's all said and done. I think Link could be well over 200 billion, if not pushing to 300. But guess what that means? That means if Solana is closer to 500 billion and Chainlink, let's just say the lower end on 200 billion, Chainlink made you more money with that $1,000 investment. Right. So for that reason, when I look at that market cap, even though I think Solana is amazing, I think Solana is going to be great, I think there's more X's behind a Chainlink investment than a Solana one.
If you go down here on the chart, there is SWE holding in right now at around 12, almost 13 bill. And then Chainlink right there underneath it around 12 bill. Let's compare Chainlink and SWE network. How would you play this one out?
Yeah, so this one's very fair fight, right? Because you just talk about these market caps are very similar.
Yes.
This one's harder. I could easily see a world where SUI outruns Chainlink right now. And I'm the Chainlink guy. I love Chainlink. I think the long-term purpose of Chainlink is so important. But I also love SUI, or SUI, SUI, however people want to pronounce it. Here's my thing. I tell people all the time, my big 3 horses, if a beginner said, Tim, I know you can't give me financial advice, but give me 3 coins to buy right now. A little bit of security, knowing these coins are important and are gonna make me money, but also can I make good? I don't want your Bitcoin's at 3x. That's not gonna make me very much. Can I get at least a 10x left? I'm telling people Chainlink, SWE, and Ondo. Okay. I have a lot of faith in those 3 projects being super important in the future, plus having big gains. But let me tell you why even though they're similar in market cap, while I'm going to give the edge to Chainlink, which is coming in just a little below 12 billion, Sui just a little bit below 13 billion. It's because of how much I respect Ethereum and Solana and other layer one solutions that are going to steal some of the show from Sui, whereas there is nothing competing with Chainlink on a real level to be the dominant oracle. Chainlink is going to have their hands in every single cookie jar. They're going to be everywhere. They're super important. Again, they're one of these top 5 most important coins the government has recently referenced. And so for that reason, it's not an issue with Sui that I'm saying they're not going to do well, because again, they're one of my big 3. I just am going to give the edge to Chainlink to have more X's in the day. But watch these two be close. I don't think it's going to be like Chainlink does a 20X and Sui only does a 10X. I could see it being like both of them around 15 to 20X. Chainlink just maybe a little bit more.
Well, you've got Sui holding it around 375 right now after it popped up to what, almost $4. So definitely some good opportunities here. If you looked at Sui by itself, though, where would you chart this right now?
Sui had this massive symmetrical triangle pattern back here. Let's get rid of these lines here just to bring some confluence here. Clean red line, clean green line, rising levels of support all the way since back here in August 2024, falling levels of resistance until a recent breakout here, July of 2025. What you do with symmetrical triangle patterns is you take that explosive volatility. Before the consolidation starts, what was the level of explosion that happened in price action? All right, now we've been consolidating really since January. We've been consolidating here. We recently put in new highs, or higher highs, from what we had in May. This would mean you take this breakout you take this line of the movement to the breakout line. This gives a Sui possibility of over $40 per coin. I think I did a video a couple months ago where I talked about a market cap, and I can't remember the exact number I gave, but I said it's not crazy to think a $50 Sui could happen before the end of this bull run. So the technical analysis on the macro actually somewhat supports that, with a big explosive move up above 40. In a shorter timeline, if I'm day trading this, I still see some good stuff on the horizon here for Sui. We talked about a pullback on our channel for Sui coming back down. Guess what? That daily smart trail. We kind of did that. We're retesting that resistance and support. This is a great buy spot in my opinion. Then you move out here towards the weekly chart, and there's a couple things I'm looking at here. Number one, you're going to be looking at the smart trail for the weekly chart, where we are under a buy signal from way back here on July 7th. That's going to put us in the range of 592, 560. This chart's not very old. Otherwise, we'd have a red reversal cloud. So if I show you like the daily chart in Luxalgo, you can always see there's always a red cloud up top. I would imagine, based off of where the smart trail is, that red cloud is going to be somewhere in this range, closer to $8. I think if we get a bullish catalyst here in the next couple of days, next week or two, do not be surprised to see Sui start to jump, explode, start here around the $5, $6 range. But I could easily see in September or even before September, don't be surprised if we get a big explosion up closer to $8.
Yeah, okay. So that's one that we're going to have the Sui team on, because I do know they've got a lot of announcements that they're going to be making. So that might be lining up with a very interesting fall for all of this. I also want to compare Chainlink to AAVE. AAVE, kind of the DeFi king right now. If you look at AAVE just in terms of TVL, I mean, this thing has continued to just explode over time. A lot of people utilizing AAVE for leverage, with loans, etc., that are playing into this. We had Stanley on the other day. A lot of great points he was making in terms of opportunity. What about Chainlink versus AAVE?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same arguments I've made before. Let's go back to market cap. Do I think AAVE is going to pass Chainlink in total market cap? No, I don't. But again, Chainlink is sitting at 12 billion, for lack of a better way. It's just below, but let's just call it 12 billion. AAVE sitting at 4 billion, which means it's a 3x away from simply tying Chainlink. So I'm going to give the edge. Which coin could have higher potential? I got to give the edge to AAVE. Now, I don't know if AAVE is as safe a pick as Chainlink, right? You don't hear AAVE talked about in the same way as Chainlink, but I think AAVE is a great protocol. It's a great coin. I give the edge to, if you're asking which coin do I think will have more X's behind its gains, I'm going to go AAVE over Chainlink. Okay,
AAVE over Chainlink, mainly on the gains opportunity. So I'm on the fence with that one as well. I do like AAVE as a comparison right now over Chainlink. I think the market right now, we're dealing with so many macro issues that are putting a lot of pressure on altcoins in general. I think it could be slowing down the ETH explosion, which really will create a little bit of jet fuel underneath a lot of these altcoins. Is there any anticipation for you, time-wise? Are you feeling that we got to get closer down the line to see if this inflation plays out with Chair Powell? Because if inflation starts skyrocketing, digital assets could become a safe haven, in the sense of control. They could also see, at least the blue chips. Are you looking toward the end of the year or maybe as early as 26?
This is a hard one to predict. And with the recent wrench that got thrown in to the pile yesterday with the way Jerome Powell and the Fed handled that meeting, and now it's looking like we might not get a rate cut in September, I don't think the bull market's going to stop. I think that it's not going to get its full legs until we're at least close and hearing rumblings of actual rate cuts. I think it's going to be more methodical. There'll be a couple days here and there where things may be close to double in price, but I don't think we're going to get a January 21 explosion until until the Fed actually cuts rate or finally says, you know what? I think next meeting we're cutting rate. We're in a good spot. That could be September. That could be October. We could wait till just December. We could have to wait till 2026. But I'll remind people, if anyone's saying, so Tim's saying no altcoin season, no bull run. If I'm right, and again, I could be wrong here, but I don't believe the 4-year cycle is intact anymore. Anyone who's saying, when I have to get gains before September, October, or I got a dip in September, October, I think the 4-year cycle is dead and broken. I think we're in it for more of a stock market, slow but sure rally for quite some time.
Interesting.
So I'm urging people, stay patient, stay vigilant. If something changes in the news or the charts that says bull market over, I'll let people know. I'll change my mind. I will tell the people that. But at the moment, I'm actually seeing more signs of, hey, not as fast, but bullish movements for longer periods of time. You might have to wait a little longer than you thought to get your $100 Chainlink or your $200,000 Bitcoin. But I still think it's coming before the next big bear market.
All right, so let's talk about Bitcoin. You're mentioning a 200K Bitcoin. When you look at Bitcoin right now, go to the daily right there, still, really rebounding after a dip down to 116 yesterday, but now holding 118, a little over today as we're talking. The potential for Bitcoin, is it more of a sideways play into possibly another surge up? What are you analyzing right now in terms of chart?
Yeah, this is going to be the tale of two different traders. Are you more of a formation trader or are you more of an oscillator trader, right? I like to do both at different times. This is one of those dreaded things that everyone hates, where this chart is saying could go up, could go down. I kind of said that the same thing with Ethereum. Let's make a case real quickly for a bullish move here on Bitcoin. Like you said, it's consolidating. ETH is consolidating up. Bitcoin's kind of consolidating sideways. Technically, it's going downward. You can see a little bit lower highs have been being put in here. Lower lows have been put in here. This is what we call a falling channel, but attached to an explosive move, like from what we had here, starting back on July 8th or so. This is what we call a bull flag pattern. We move over to the last support level. This has the bullish trajectory for the next explosive move to bring us all the way up here to 130,000. All right, so that's the bullish side of everything. And there's a big argument to say that should be on the table for people's opinions, right? If I go out to the weekly chart and I look at oscillators, there's no bearish signs right now on weekly oscillators. There's no bearish divergence. There's no sell signal. I guess the money flow is bleeding out a little bit, but we still have a lot of positive movements on the weekly oscillators. It's not quite the same on the daily. On the daily, you did see bearish divergence come into play. You do see here on the Luxago oscillator, we're now under a red reversal, bearish momentum, and now we have this negative money flow coming. That, if you're an oscillator trader, again, in a bull market, this can fail from time to time. But I'm watching and saying, if we lose $115,000 and we start to come back down to this level, I just wouldn't be surprised to see the daily Smart Trail touched here close to $112,000, just a little bit below. When you zoom out, it also kind of would make sense to pull back down to that level because this was the high from back in May that we exploded through, did not retest. You don't always have to retest it, but it's fairly common and healthy to retest former resistance levels and turn them into support. We didn't do that back here at 112, so I'm not ready to predict a move back to 112. What I'm trying to urge people is there's two prices to watch. Number one, Can we get back above 120,000? Let's get back above 120,000. Let's break this red level. And I'm going to feel pretty good about a shot up to 130 before the next consolidation, right? I think we continue this bull flag pattern. But if we drop back down here, we lose 115 and we start to lose these levels, don't be surprised to see a 112 pit. I'm not going to put some buy orders in around 112,000 for Bitcoin should we lose 115.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I like the angle of, watching both sides of the chart right now, because this is something with Bitcoin, as we see dominance continue to dip slightly, Ethereum's move, obviously the ETFs are going to play into this. And if you look at Bitcoin versus ETH on the ETF range in terms of inflows, Bitcoin has been, starting to slow a little bit. So that may play out, to your point right there, Sam. We're going to be looking at that along with much more on our next show with you. We're going to take a look at a really strong altcoin portfolio. So we'll definitely have you back for that one. Awesome. Thanks again for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again, Paul.
You bet. All right. You guys, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, that's our own private group. It's very easy to get in. All you have to do is click the link down below. Follow me out there on X @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.